Hello and welcome. This is Mark from setmysite.com, and this is a quick video that we're making for you titled Intro to SEO and SEO Yoast Tutorial. In this video, I am going to quickly go over what SEO is and things that you should understand about SEO so that you have a nice understanding of the fundamentals of SEO before you jump into using the SEO Yoast tool that's built into your website. And of course, the majority of this video is going to be a step-by-step tutorial to show you exactly how to use the SEO Yoast tool that's built into your website to increase your opportunities for rankings on Google. So let's just jump right in here. I'm going to go ahead and just go through this quick little presentation to give you some information about SEO. So what is SEO? So very, very simply put, and as stripped down terms as possible, search engine optimization, aka SEO, is the practice of getting your website to rank higher on search engines, for example Google, for keywords. So if you are a commercial cleaning company, for example, and you do office cleaning and building cleaning and things of that nature, it would behoove you to have your website show up for keywords such as commercial cleaners or commercial cleaning services or professional floor buffering services or professional window cleaners, if those are the types of things that you offer. So you want to get your website to show up naturally for those types of keyword-based searches. So the question is, how do you do it? Well, that's SEO. It's the practice of getting your website to show up for those search terms. Now, it's also important to understand that SEO is going to affect your organic rankings and sometimes your local rankings or local listings. So in order to understand this statement, I'm going to quickly take you over to a search engine results page, and then we can go ahead and kind of explore what that means. So this is just a search engine result for the search term commercial cleaning services, and up on the very top you can see the initial listings here are actually advertisements. Those are not organic. So SEO will not help you get into this section up here. In fact, you have to pay Google to get listed up here, and Google has a program called AdWords which allows you to pay for advertising so you can get your business to show up on the very top for search terms that are related to your business, such as commercial cleaning services. So each four of these guys here are paying Google for the opportunity to show up here, and you can too. And I definitely recommend looking into AdWords. So go ahead, once the video is done, if you're interested, just type in AdWords into Google and read more about the advertising program. It can be really affordable and extremely effective. So after the advertising, you look down and you have the local results, and Google will demonstrate these local results based on your geographic location from where you're searching from. And then just beneath your local results, now you have your what we call organic listings. These are the listings that show up naturally via Google. This is what Google's search engine algorithm is designed to find and display. And this is the primetime real estate, because if you can successfully optimize your website for a search term or two that are related to your business, you have some nice staying power up in this area. You can get a lot of clicks, and those clicks will be highly relevant to your business. And obviously, the higher up you are in the organic listings, the better opportunities you're going to have to get click-throughs to your website. So this is the organic listing space. This, when it comes to SEO, is the space that we are talking about as far as getting your business listed. So that's where you want to be. That's what we're talking about when it comes to SEO, this organic space down here. So let's go back to the presentation here. So SEO will affect the organic ranking. So we got that. So now that we know kind of what SEO is and where we want to be with SEO, let's talk about some of the myths that we hear a lot when it comes to search engine optimization. And you probably have some of these misconceptions yourself. So we're going to go over all of these in detail. So the first one is, if I build it, they will come. A lot of people struggle with this because they believe if they build a website, and they create pages and blog posts on that website, that simply by having that website, simply by existing online, somehow people are going to find that website and pay for whatever service or product you're offering through the website. That is not true. You have to spend a lot of time with your marketing, with your digital advertising strategies to ensure that you're able to drive traffic to your site. And even organic traffic, even though SEO deals specifically with the organic space and with getting listed naturally, you still have to put a lot of your own work and time into improving your opportunities to get listed naturally in that space. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go back to that same listing here. When I scroll up to the top, you can see that I did a search for commercial cleaning services. But when I look at the results of that search, I can't get out of here. Okay, when I look at the results of that search, you can see that there's almost 10 million results showing up for the search commercial cleaning services. So that means if you build a website that you're trying to get optimized for the search term commercial cleaning services, you're going to be competing with 9,800,000 other web pages on the internet to get listed for that search term on Google's first page. Now, organic rankings come in chunks of 10. So they're going to be, Google's going to be displaying 10 natural listings on its first page. So you're trying to be one of 10 out of this 9,800,000 number of other pages competing for that spot. So you have to keep that in mind when you're building out a website. You have to be realistic about your search engine optimization goals. When you're thinking you can get listed for a search term such as cleaning service or shoes, if you're selling shoes, for example, you need to be much more realistic about that and try to narrow your focus so that this number becomes smaller, giving you better opportunities. So if they build it, they will come. That's actually not going to be true. You have to make sure that you spend some time with your website. Okay, the next one, the next myth about SEO is I need to list a lot of keywords. So people often come to us and say, in order to get my website listed, here are the keywords that I want you to add to the website. What they're talking about are meta keyword tags. And back in the day when Google first started indexing websites on its search engine, it used something called a meta keyword tag. And it used that information to understand what a website was about. So if you put in the keyword commercial cleaning services into your meta keywords tag in the code of your website, then back in 1998 that might help Google understand what your website was about. Today, though, in 2016, that's no longer true. Actually, Google has decided to completely ignore meta keyword tags. So you could come up with 5,000 different ways to say commercial cleaning services and put them into your website on every single page of your website in the meta keywords tag area. And guess what? Google will completely ignore it. It doesn't look at your meta keyword tags whatsoever. So don't think about search engine optimization in terms of keywords. I got to get my keywords in there. No, that's not true. Google looks at other things in a much more sophisticated way to determine its rankings for websites on the search engine. So the next myth is I need to list my keyword a bunch of times in my text. So that's what Google refers to as keyword stuffing. There's a word out there called keyword density that you may hear from time to time when it comes to SEO. And that has to do with how many times your keyword appears in your text on your website. So when it comes to keyword density, you have to be careful. You don't want to be listing your, let's say the keyword commercial cleaning services, 10 times out of every 100 words, right? Because if you do that, Google will look at that as keyword stuffing. And instead of giving you better opportunities to rank your website for that keyword, it will simply recognize this practice as keyword stuffing, which it believes is you trying to manipulate search engine rankings, and it will penalize your website. It may even de-index you. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that the content on your website is natural, that it's written for human beings and not for search engines. And you don't want to overuse the keyword that you're going after on your page or on your article. And so having said that, it's still important to isolate keywords that you want to show up for when you're doing SEO. And we're going to get into depth when it comes to kind of keyword selection and keyword isolation later on when we go over the Yoast tutorial specifically. But in terms of overusing the keywords that you want to show up for, just be careful not to do that. The next myth is, I need to submit my website to the search engines. We hear this one a lot. Lots of times new clients will call us up and ask us if we do SEO for their websites and if we will submit their website to the search engines, as if that's going to do anything. That's actually a huge myth. A long time ago, search engines used to allow you to submit your new website to the search engine through a little portal, right? That portal no longer exists because obviously it got spammed way too much with people trying to manipulate search engine rankings, so that's not really a thing anymore. One thing that you can do as a website owner is to have an account with Bing, Yahoo, and Google Webmaster Tools, and through those portals then you can submit your website in terms of allowing the search engine to crawl all of the pages on your website, and then to understand those pages, read the pages, and read the XML sitemap. That can be done. That's every webmaster does that. Every website owner should be doing that. That's just a given. That just helps you keep track of your website's overall health because it allows the search engines to look at it, let you know if there's pages missing, broken links. So you just keep track of that. And at Set My Site, we actually do that on behalf of our customers. So you don't have to worry about that if you're a Set My Site customer. That's all taken care of. We do monitor all of our websites through the Webmaster Tool portals. So don't fall for the "we're going to submit you to the search engine so you can get found everywhere" myth, because that's simply not true. Okay, so then the next myth is paid search is going to help my organic rankings. So paid search, again, if you can recall the page that I showed you with the ads on top, let's say you subscribe to Google AdWords service and you are paying for advertising. There's a myth that perhaps because you're paying for advertising on Google, it's also going to help your SEO or your organic placement because you're already giving them money. That's not the case whatsoever. There's no correlation between your PPC or AdWords account and your SEO or your organic placement. So don't worry about that. If I buy a bunch of domain names with my keywords in them, I can redirect those to my real website and get higher rankings. This is one that we hear all the time, and it is 100% false. There's nothing that an empty domain name will ever do in terms of allowing you to rank higher for any given keyword. So let's say you buy the domain name bestcommercialcleaningservices.com and you redirect that to your actual domain name, examplecleaningservices.com. That's simply going to be ignored by the search engine. The redirect, it matters not. The only time the redirect will actually matter is if you tell someone else to go to that other domain name and then it redirects them, right? It's not going to have any impact on the search engines. It's not going to have any impact on your rankings. If I buy a bunch of domain names with my keywords in them and I build out mini websites on them, I can get higher rankings for those mini sites. I would say that this is true, but it's no longer 2007. This technique does not work anymore. This is what Google calls gateway pages or doorway pages, and these types of mini sites are highly penalized by Google now. So if it catches wind of you trying to buy a bunch of keyword-based domain names, such as, bestcleaningserviceslosAngeles.com, and then adding a bunch of keyword-oriented content into those domain names so that you can manipulate the search engine rankings and get listed higher for that specific search term, it will penalize you. It will penalize that microsite, and if it finds out that you're the owner of that microsite and it can find out what your primary website is, it will also penalize your primary website. You do not want to do this. In 2016, this is a dangerous game to play with the search engines. We do not recommend it. If you had this idea back in 2005 or 2006, you probably could have cleaned up. But since then, Google has made a lot of major changes to its core algorithm to look for these types of websites, to penalize them, to de-index them, and to penalize the owner by penalizing the owner's other websites as well. So make sure you stay away from this strategy. It will not work today. I promise you that much. Okay. So what does Google look at to determine rankings then? So having said all of those things about keywords and everything else, what are they actually looking at to help figure out how to list websites on the search engine? So the first thing that it looks at are links or backlinks. And so this has always been Google's kind of I guess claim to fame, special sauce, secret sauce, what makes it different from other search engines. Back in the day, they decided that backlinks were going to be an important indicator, because when you linked from your website to another website, it shows that you trust that website that you're linking to. So on your Facebook page, for example, if you decide to share an article from BuzzFeed, or you decide to share an article from Huffington Post on your Facebook page, that share of that content indicates to Google that Huffington Post or BuzzFeed are relevant, authoritative websites, to the fact that you are trusting their content to share with all of your friends, right? So you're showing Google, you're showing them this trust factor, this authority factor by creating a backlink from your Facebook profile to BuzzFeed. That's what you want. You're looking for those backlinks to your site. You want to be the next BuzzFeed. You want to create content that people feel like they can share, that they can citate in their content, right? So if you have a good relationship with a blog owner who writes blogs on your specific subject, reach out to them, get a backlink from their blog to your website. You know, go out and talk to media outlets to see if you can get a write-up of your product or service. These types of indications will let Google know that you're trustworthy. You know, if you can get a write-up from CBS's website that links back to your site, or if you can get a write-up from you know, someone's blog back to you and have that link back to your site, that's showing Google via that backlink that your content, your website is worth sharing and citating. And that's really, really important. And that's the #1 trust signal that Google looks for when helping, when it's determining its rankings. So the better, higher quality, and the more backlinks that you have to your website, the higher you're going to rank. That's a guarantee. But you have to make sure that your backlinks are coming from quality sources. So if your backlinks are coming from like gambling websites or porn websites and stuff like that, that's really going to ultimately end up hurting you. So you want to make sure that your backlinks are coming from relevant, high quality sources. If you are a pizza parlor, for example, you want your backlinks to come from maybe a forum on you know, pizzas or something like that. You know, something related, some place that has some kind of relation to what you do. Or you want it to come from a very high authority website like a CBS.com or like a media website, something that already has existing authority. The next thing that it looks at is content. And so this is really the area that you have the most control over. So this is the area that we're going to focus on with the SEO Yoast tutorial, which is in the second half of this video. So the content is the other major ranking factor that Google looks for. It is going to use its spiders to crawl all of the content on your website, and it will read that content, and based on the content, it will figure out what you do and what you sell and what your service is, and it will also figure out if that content is of quality. So it can actually read legible English. Their spiders can look at content and truly understand the quality of that content. So you have to make sure that your content isn't spammy. You have to make sure that your content isn't full of ridiculous keywords to the point where it's completely unreadable. If you're an English speaking person, it should read well in English. So all of these things Google looks at when it comes to content. And again, this is the section that you as a business owner, as a website owner, are going to have the most control over. And so we will focus on the development of content and making sure that we optimize our content-based pages on our website to give us the best opportunity to rank for those keywords that we want to rank for. Okay, next is social signals. We talked a little bit about that with Facebook sharing. This is pretty easy, right? The more shares, the more follows, the more tweets that you get from your website, the better it's going to be. So if someone shares your article on your website, if somebody tweets your website, all these types of social signals are taken into account by Google, and it shows Google that, hey, this is a website that people are looking at and they care about, and they care enough about to share with their friends on their social networks. So that's a very big one. The next one is user engagement. So this is really important. This is the newest kind of addition to Google's algorithm, I guess you could say, and it's kind of continuing to be refined, and it's getting more and more important. And this has to do with how users are interacting with your website. Have you ever gone to a website before where you clicked on it and then you looked at the website and you thought to yourself, nope, this isn't what I'm looking for, and you immediately hit the back button? Well, that is something that Google's looking at. That is a user engagement metric that it calls bounce rate. And it's looking for signals like that to determine the relevancy of a website. So if your website's ranking very high for a search term, and then Google realizes that people are clicking on your website through Google and immediately hitting the back button every time, they're going to look at that user engagement metric and say, hey, people don't like this website, so let's get it out of here. And they will push your website down the search engine page so that people are no longer clicking on it, because it was getting that metric back from your website saying that people were not finding what they were looking for when your website was ranked for a specific term. So that's why it's really important not to create just spammy content, because people aren't going to engage with that content. They're not going to care about the content. They're not going to share the content. They're not even going to read the content if it's unreadable. So they're just going to hit the back button, and that's really going to hurt your search engine placement over time. So you have to be careful with user engagement. You want to make sure that your website is beautiful so that it engages the customer, and that your content is relevant so that the customer stays on the website to read that content and hopefully click through to different areas of your website from that content, and hopefully share that content. So those are all things that you want to do with your content, and those are user engagement metrics that Google looks at. And then overall digital footprint. So the more places you are on the internet, the better it is for your company. So that's Yellow Pages, right? That's Google Local. That's Facebook. That's on different blogs. That's on Tumblr. That's all sorts of different social networks that you can jump onto to increase your overall digital footprint. Anytime you have an opportunity to create an account for your business through like a social network, or through a social bookmarking website, or through a small business directory, do it. Create as large a digital footprint as you can. And part of this too with the digital footprint is make sure that you're on those review websites like Yelp, and make sure you have a Google Local profile or Google Places profile so that people can leave reviews about your business. These types of reviews and engagement with your business on other networks and other websites off of your site are big time signals for Google as well. So you want people engaging on those profiles. You want people engaging on your Facebook page and on your Twitter page. These types of off-site engagements are really important, and that's part of expanding your overall digital footprint. The size of your website is important too. So if you're competing with, let's say, Yelp.com for that top spot, right? Yelp's always going to really take that top spot because Yelp is massive. It's a huge website. Wikipedia is always on top, right? Because they're huge. I mean, among other things, they're also linked to a ton of times, but ultimately Wikipedia is a massive, massive website, right? And if you're a Set My Site customer, you probably have a much smaller website. You're dealing with 5 pages, maybe 10, 15, or 20 pages. Versus websites that literally have 900,000 pages. So it's going to be difficult to compete with those top dogs. You have to be realistic about what you can do. The size of the site is something that Google looks at, so just keep that in mind. And then finally, there's a bunch of other very, very small but important ranking factors, such as your domain age. Google doesn't really put a ton of weight on how old your domain name is, but if your domain name has been around for 16 years, it's going to carry more weight than somebody who just put up their website yesterday. So you have to keep those types of things into account. And there's a whole bunch of research. If you just, Google search Google ranking factors, you're going to find so much information that go into the smaller ranking factors that you can look at if you have any more questions about that stuff. But these are the big ones here. So all of the above factors help Google determine your website's trustworthiness and authority. Those are the two things that Google is ultimately looking for. So when it takes into account your social signals and the quality of the content that you produce and how many backlinks you have to your website and where those backlinks are coming from and how old your website is and how big your website is, right? When it takes all of those things into account, ultimately it's only trying to determine two things, which is your website's trustworthiness and your authority in the industry in which you compete. So if you can prove to Google that you are a high authority and that you are highly trustworthy, you're going to ultimately have much better opportunities to rank for the keywords that you want to rank for. So keep that in mind. New websites, it's going to be harder for you guys to get rankings right out of the gate. You have to put in the work. You have to develop trust with your clients, trust with people who follow you on those social networks, and you have to publish content that people care about so you can help develop yourself as an authority in your industry. So those are the main things that you have to work for when it comes to SEO. That should be the end goal right there, is trustworthiness and authority. So finally, what can I do to help improve my website's rankings? Okay, so you can use your website to publish share-worthy, relevant content. So we talked a little bit about that. Creating content is one of those areas that you have direct control over. So it's really important that you spend some time developing content that is important, that people care about, that's related to what you do. You can use your keywords inside of your content to show Google that you deserve to be ranked for those keywords. So we're going to kind of explore that with SEO Yoast, which will be really cool. And you can encourage social sharing with your fans and followers. So when you publish a new piece of content on your blog, you want people to start sharing that. You want people to engage. So make sure you have a Facebook account. Make sure you have a Twitter account. Make sure you have a Pinterest account if you're a company that uses a lot of imagery. For example, like somebody who creates custom furniture. If you're somebody who creates custom furniture, you have to have a Pinterest account. You have to have an Instagram account, because those are social networks that use images, right? So just think about that kind of stuff. The more social networks that you can be on that makes sense, and the more shares and likes and all that kind of stuff that you can get, the better. And then remember that Google looks at engagement too. So make sure that the content that you're producing is good. Be a marketer. Don't just go and produce a bunch of rubbish and then hope people are going to find it. No, go out and push that content. Push it out to your social networks. Make sure that people are engaging with it. Create content that people really care about. If there's some kind of secret to your industry that people don't know about and they want to know, that's a great article right there. There's all sorts of stuff that people want to know about your business, about your industry, tips and tricks that you can publish that people will actually read. So make sure you produce content that people will actually read, share, and care about. That's the goal, is to get that trustworthiness and authority. So finally, the last point here is you must learn how to use the SEO Yoast tool on your website. So that's what this whole thing is about. This long-winded intro is all about figuring out, what SEO is and how it works. And now that you have that information, how can we use SEO Yoast on your website? So let's just dive into that now. So I have a test website here that I've created. It doesn't have anything on it. So we're going to create our first blog post for our test website. So I'm just going to click on Add New. Okay. And then, if you've ever created a blog post before, you should be pretty familiar with the WordPress backend. This is, the WordPress backend that we use. And what we want to do now is we want to create content, right? This is where the magic happens. Now, luckily, I'm not going to bore you with coming up with content from the top of my head. I have a bunch of content here that I'm just going to use. And I'm just going to copy it here. And what I'm going to do here is just paste it in here, right? And then we're gonna look at this SEO Yoast tool down here, right? This is gonna be really where we want to spend our time. So let's explore Yoast real quick, and then we're gonna jump into optimization. Okay, so Yoast shows you something here called a snippet editor, and the snippet editor is going to show you your title, and then your description that's going to show up on a search engine, right? So just by default, you can see it's already pre-populated this description in here, and it's taken that from the content that I put in here. So let's real quick, before we even look at how to edit this, let's look at what this stuff is. So if I go to a search engine here, right, and then I just type in show property management, for example, just to get something in here. So let's scroll down to my organic listings here. And so what we're looking at here, where it says commercial property management, find rentals, and then you see this little description here. This is called your meta title and your meta description. And these are things that are actually still super important to search engines. And SEO Yoast allows you to craft custom meta titles and meta descriptions. So out of the box, if you don't use SEO Yoast, the great thing is that WordPress is automatically just going to look at the information and the content you provided. It's going to look at your post title, and it's going to use that post title and that content to automatically populate your meta title and your meta description. So honestly, if you didn't really even do anything with Yoast, you're still in pretty good shape, because WordPress will automatically produce that information for you. But if you really want to give yourself the best chance to show up on a search engine, you're going to want to actually create a custom meta title and meta description. So in this case, in this particular article, we're talking about commercial property maintenance, and this is really what we want to rank for. You know, and when you're creating your content, you know, you want to, before you even craft your content and before you even start writing your content, think about the search term that you want to show up for, right? And write your content around it. So even though Google doesn't take into account meta keywords, and this is kind of what we were talking about before, you can still create a keyword phrase that you want to show up for and optimize your article around that keyword phrase. And this is what Yoast is all about. It's all about figuring out and isolating a keyword phrase that's important to your business, and then optimizing your content around that keyword phrase to give you the best opportunity to show up for that keyword phrase. So our keyword phrase in the example is going to be commercial property maintenance. This is what we want to show up for. And so we're going to pop that into what's called our focus keyword. Okay, so once I pop that into my focus keyword, you can see all of a sudden all of this stuff popped up over here. So it's making judgments about my content and about my article based on this focus keyword. So real quick, we're going to explore this real quick so you have a really good understanding of what the focus keyword is. Your focus keyword is not your meta keywords, okay? That's a completely different thing. Your meta keywords is a little tag or a little piece of code that in 1998 you could put into your website and Google would read and would say, okay, this website's about those keywords. No, Google doesn't look at that anymore. We discussed that earlier in this video. That's something that's so completely irrelevant and outdated. Having a list of keywords in the code of your content will literally do nothing for your website. This focus keyword is not the same as those meta keywords. In fact, this focus keyword, Google will not even look at this. This focus keyword is for our internal purposes only. This is only for us to determine the quality of our content based on the keyword that we want to show up for. This keyword is not getting submitted to Google. Google's not going to be reading this keyword, is not going to be specifically associating your content with this keyword. This keyword is for us to figure out how we can improve our content so we can increase our chances at getting found on Google for that keyword phrase. So it basically calculates a score. So you can see content, commercial property maintenance right up here. It's calculating a score for us based on the keyword that we choose. Now, if I change this to school buses, right, all of a sudden, you know, it's going to be trying to optimize our site for school buses, right? So you could change this to, you know, almost anything you want to. But again, it's really important to figure out what keyword you want to rank for before you even start drafting your content. Pop your focus keyword into the focus keyword section on Yoast before you do anything else, and that will help guide you in your content creation process. So now that we have our focus keyword, we're going to follow all of Yoast's instructions as far as getting our keyword, getting our content and our page to be as properly optimized as possible. So it's telling us that right here in this content analysis section, we can look at this to help us understand where we can improve our article. No meta description has been specified. Search engines will display a copy from the page instead. So that goes back to what we were talking about here. We want to specify a meta description. So we're going to click on the edit snippet button, and all of a sudden you can see we have an SEO title and we have a meta description. And in our meta description, we can actually create a meta description that's keyword oriented. So we want to put our meta description in there. And a little hint is you want to put your keyword in here first. So commercial property maintenance by Tesco is the best in Los Angeles. Guaranteed. Visit our site today to learn more about our commercial property maintenance. Okay, and so you could see all of a sudden it turned red, and it was looking good before, but now it's turned red. It's telling me it's red because if I look up here, you could see that the word maintenance is too long. It's getting cut off. So it's saying, you should probably come up with something that will fit in there. So a commercial property service. How about that? And now we have a nice green line, and it's telling us that the meta description is looking a-okay, and we've got our keyword in here, and so now you can see that our keyword is in our meta description. So you can see right here, green light, meta description contains the focus keyword. So we're good to go there. So that's great. That's a success. So let's see what else we can do here. So we wanna also update our SEO title too, so that it contains the focus keyword as well. You can see the focus keyword commercial property maintenance does not appear in the page title, right? So we have to make sure that we put it both in the page title and in the SEO title. So there's a couple of things that we got to do here. Number one is we haven't named our page yet, right? So we got to do that. So I should have done that before, so I'm kind of scatterbrained right now. I apologize, but we want to make sure that we name our page with that specific keyword and specifically in the front of the name. So commercial property maintenance services by Tesco. Okay, so now we've got our keyword up in there. We're feeling pretty good about that, and that's good. And then we also want to create an SEO title, which is going to show up on the search engine right here. You can see in blue, and we want to make sure that we have our focus keyword in the beginning as well. So commercial property maintenance Los Angeles is best, right? That's so we even got a little bit of a local in there, local tag. So we've got our focus keyword up in the beginning, and then we've got a little local tag just for fun there, just to kind of give us a little extra boost. And so now our content analysis is going to be quite happy about those changes that we made, ensuring that our focus keyword is in our SEO title and our meta description, and it's also in our page title up here in the very beginning. So that's very good. So then it says that you're, let's see here, keyword. Okay, so URL. Let's look at the focus keyword does not appear in the URL. So the URL can be manipulated up here. So you can do it up here, or you can do it in Yoast where it says slug. I just prefer to do it up here where it says permalink. So I'm gonna include that commercial property maintenance into my URL, and then I'll just type in services by Tesco. Now I'm going to click OK, and now I've got that in my URL. So I've got my keyword now kind of nicely positioned throughout all of my major areas where the search engine is going to load. The titles, the description. So you can see my SEO title. Now it's populated my slug, which has the commercial property maintenance in there. I've got commercial property maintenance in my meta description. So I've got all these different areas that I'm looking at. And so some of the areas were already green down here. So let's just look at those real quick. So it wants to know that the focus keyword appears in the first paragraph of the copy, right? And so I actually have that in here in the first paragraph of the copy. So we don't have to worry about that. And then the focus keyword density is 1.2%, which is great. So this is something that we talked about before, which goes back to the keyword stuffing. You don't have to have your keyword in there 1,000 million times, or else if you do, Google's going to look at that and penalize you. So in this case, we have it in here 1.2%, which is a good amount. It's a small amount. It's in there enough times. It says 7 times. It says that 1.2% is a nice keyword density, so we're quite happy with that too. It says the text contains 603 words. So you'll find that if you start writing a new blog post and you only have 200 words in that blog post, you're going to get a red mark here for this specific factor. You got to have more content. You got to have more words. Generally what we like to shoot for when it comes to a blog post or an article or even just a basic website page, you're going to want to have between 500 and up to 2,000 words on that page. And you want to lean more towards as many words as possible. So the longer your post, generally, the better it's going to be, right? So lots of words is good. And then let's see what else we have here. The page title is between the 35 character minimum and the recommended 65 character minimum. So you don't want your page title to be too small or too long. So, and then I think that pretty much everything else we've covered here. So everything looks good. So we got a couple more little red things that we want to address here, okay? So you're linking to another page with the focus keyword you want this page to rank for. Consider changing that if you truly want to rank this page. So what they're saying, and this is a really important point, so make a note here. I've chosen a focus keyword here, commercial property maintenance, right? And they're saying that I'm linking to another page with commercial property maintenance in that link. And it's saying, if I want this specific page to rank for commercial property, I should probably not link to another page using that same search term. I should probably change that so that, I'm not competing with my own pages. So this is important. So keep a note here. You want to have only one focus keyword per page on your entire website. So if my focus keyword on this page is commercial property maintenance, I don't want to have that same focus keyword for another blog post or another page on my website, because then I'll be competing with myself. So for my other page that I'm making, maybe I'll choose commercial property companies, right? Maybe I'll choose best commercial property maintenance services, right? Create these synonyms and these changes in the verbiage and the language so that you're not cannibalizing your own SEO opportunities. So you want to have one focus keyword for every page on your website. So that's something that's important to remember. And so it's also saying no images appear on my page. So consider adding some images. So we're going to add an image because this is important to know how to do and important for your SEO. So I'm just going to click here and I'm going to add an image right in here. I'm going to click on add media. I'm going to select something here. Let's see. Just going to grab kind of a basic image here. Doesn't need to be anything too crazy. So, and then once I have my image, there's actually a little bit of image SEO that you have to know and do as well to give you the best opportunity to rank. So you don't want your images to be completely empty. It's important to realize that search engines are going to be looking at your images for specific meta information, and you want to feed them that information, and you want to feed them that information with your keywords embedded within it. So, for example, your title of this image, I'm going to call this Commercial Property Maintenance by Testco, right? Because that's the name of my blog post. And then for my alt text, this is the most important. You want to describe the image so that the search engine, because the search engine can actually view an image, it doesn't know what's going on in the image, right? So you want to give the search engine a description of what's going on. So in this case, it's a young woman holding some turnips in a field, right? And so normally this description you want to also include your keyword, right? In this specific image, if I'm being honest and I'm describing this image exactly as it is, there's nothing related to commercial property maintenance in the image, so I can't really include the keyword in there. But if I want to get creative, I can say a young woman who works for a commercial property maintenance company, right? Then you can kind of get a little creative with it. So, a young woman. Sorry, I messed that up. Young woman. Okay, and then finally you want to add a description. So this is kind of your sales point. So use test code for the best commercial property maintenance services in Los Angeles. So now you have your title with your keyword in it, you have your alt text with your keyword in it, and then you have your description with your keyword in it. So we're going to insert that into the post, and I'm going to align this left so that it looks a little bit nicer. There you go. When I publish, and then finally I'm going to go back down to my analysis, and I'm going to see, okay, everything looks good. I got a green light here. I got pretty much all green lights here. The only orange light that I have here is it says that my slug contains a stop word. So stop words are words like and or the or by, things of that nature. You can choose to exclude those stop words in your slug, or you can choose to include them. They don't necessarily hurt. I'm going to just leave it here for now, and then briefly just go over a couple more main points on this piece of content so that you have a real thorough understanding of how this SEO Yoast tool is going to work and benefit you. So I already had the content pre-formatted, which saved me a lot of time here in this demonstration, but you have to also understand that this content is actually formatted really well for Yoast. So I need to go over the different pieces of this content to kind of show you what things were formatted, so you may want to take notes on that. So the first thing I want to look at is this first title, and so you can see that this title is using a heading 1, or also called an H1 tag, and so Google's looking for H tags to determine your article's headings, and your article's headings are going to be weighted more heavily than your article's text. So it's important to have headings throughout your article, and to also include your keyword within your within your headings whenever possible, without overstuffing. So really important though is that you want to make sure that you can include that focus keyword at the beginning of your H1 tag, at the beginning of your article, because that will really indicate to Google what your article is all about. So you can see here I have the commercial property maintenance keyword. It's in my heading 1 at the beginning of my article, and that's great. And then as I go through it, I also have my first paragraph, and I have that focus keyword embedded within my first paragraph as well, and so that's important as well. Then as I scroll down, you can see that I have an H2 tag here, which is my heading 2, which is a smaller heading, kind of a subheading. And you can see that I also have that keyword again. It's right here up in front at the beginning of my H2. That's going to give me more opportunities. It's going to indicate to the search engines that this content is heavily related to this specific search term. Finally, and then as I go through, you can see that I have this keyword here. Not only is it in this paragraph, but it's also in bold. So bolding your keyword a few times can help as well. You don't want to only bold your keyword. You want to bold other keywords too, to make sure that your use of bold is natural. It's not so obvious that you're trying to over optimize your article for that specific keyword search term. So use bold where it matters, and also once or twice bold that keyword, because that could help as well. And as I scroll down, you see I have another heading tag here, and in this specific heading tag there's no keyword. That's on purpose. You don't want to overstuff and oversaturate your article with that specific keyword phrase. As I go through here, you can see that it's kind of sprinkled in my paragraphs in different areas. And so you're able to kind of create this piece of content strategically using that keyword in different ways. And you don't have to just use this specific keyword in this specific way. You can actually use a synonym for that keyword in different areas of, for example, commercial property maintenance company right here of the content, to give it a little variation, to not overstuff the article with that specific keyword phrase. So now we have Yoast completely optimized, everything except for the stop word, and so we are fairly happy about that. The only thing is that this page has 0 no-follow links, 1 normal. Okay, yeah, so we do have an outbound link. So everything that we have on here is pretty good. And if you have any questions about things that you can improve, just check out this content analysis here. And this content analysis is going to tell you, it's going to show you in orange or red the different things that you can do to help increase your article's opportunity to rank on a search engine. So finally, I'm going to just hit the publish button, and we're going to look at our masterpiece, our work of art here. We'll just click on view post. And here is our article, our masterpiece that you can see here, and it looks really good. It looks really nice. Got little comments down here. And so that's it. That's all there is to it. This is the anatomy of a perfectly optimized article. And the more content that you can produce for your website, blog, and the more, I guess, green dots you can get in your content analysis here with the Yoast tool, the better your chances are going to be for showing up on a search engine for your focus keyword. Now, it's also important to remember that even though my keyword is commercial property maintenance and I've optimized my article for that search term, if I go to Google and I do commercial property maintenance search, I still have 8.5 million other pages on the internet that I'm competing for. So just be realistic about it, and just do your best and create content that people want to share and that people want to link back to. And eventually, over time, if you create quality content, you'll start seeing your backlink profile increase, and you'll start seeing your shares online increase, and all of those signals will let Google know that you are producing quality content that people care about, and that will increase your search engine ranking over time. So just be patient and be realistic, be diligent and work hard, and best of luck.